Last night, myself and Anne, we went into Hollywood to the Montalban Theater, where there was a special screening of the upcoming documentary film, John Candy, I Like Me. Now, the trailer for this came out a while ago, and I don't know if there's ever been a trailer that made me tear up, like a trailer that made me tear up. And I straight up got emotional watching the trailer to I Like Me. Because you got to understand, I'm a Hamilton, Toronto kid. I'm a Canadian kid. I grew up in a world that John Candy lived in, and that John Candy was entertaining the world. He was one of a kind. And there have been many performers that have come after John Candy that have tried to be in the John Candy template. But there was only one John Candy. And he was ridiculously phenomenal. He was ridiculously talented. And I was really looking forward to seeing what Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks' son, would do as the director of the film. Of course, Ryan Reynolds, the producer of the film as well. So I went to go see it last night. And I am thrilled to say I could not be happier with what I saw. It was a joyous celebration of the life of John Candy, but it was also incredibly informative. Like I know a lot about John Candy. There was a lot of stuff in there that I didn't know that just like exponentially grew my appreciation for him, like to enormous degrees. The amount of people in the documentary talking about John Candy, whether it's Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Eugene Levy, Martin Short. It just went on and on and on with this, like Catherine O'Hara, like on and on and on. All these people talking about John Candy and what he meant and how larger than life that he was and all that kind of stuff. But you know, Rob, for me, the question going into this documentary was, what's the story going to be? Because I've made a documentary, right? Movie Trailers, a Love Story. But in making that documentary, and myself and another filmmaker had looked for about a year at making another documentary. And the primary question for both of them is, okay, this is a great topic to make a documentary about, but what's the story? And they found the story. Because you could do a documentary about John Candy and it's just a bunch of facts. In 1973, he did this. And in 1975, he did this. But they found the story. And the story is about a wonderful, warm, but in his own way, also kind of broken man. And how that guided the journey he went on until he passed away. And it was beautiful, and it was touching, and it was warm, and it was eye-opening, and it was riveting, and it was emotional. It was really emotional. And you know, they did something really interesting with the movie. They start the movie with his funeral. Like the movie starts, little date, 1994, and it starts with his funeral, and then the clock goes backwards. And they tell it in such a way, Colin Hanks kind of structures it in such a way that it just becomes riveting. You're following along the journey with it. Because again, a lot of documentaries fall into the trap of just throwing a lot of information at you. This wasn't that. This was a journey that this thing took us on that again was just culminated in just this beautiful, wonderful life that was John Candy. And it really makes you leave the theater, again, here's the word, feeling emotional. But Rob, I can't remember the last time ever feeling that itch to just wanting to rewatch all of John Candy's movies again. Like right. You come out of this, when you watch this movie, you're going to want to just book off your next week just to watch all the John Candy movies. And oh my God, Macaulay Culkin, in this movie, telling the story about, like, he said, you know, he had an awful father, and he said, I was 8 years old, man, and no adult figure was more important to me and made more of an impression on me and my life and me knowing my own self-worth, even as a child, than John Candy. And he said something, Rob, because Macaulay Culkin came out on stage at the end because they did this big Q&A. Wow. It was John Candy's two children, Ryan Reynolds, Colin Hanks, Macaulay Culkin, and Steve Martin came out on stage, who, by the way, got the biggest ovation out of anybody there was Steve Martin. Anyway, not Steve Martin, Martin Short. Martin Short. Oh, yeah. So Martin Short got the biggest applause out of anybody. But, you know, Macaulay Culkin, one of the most beautiful moments of the night was during the Q&A. And Macaulay Culkin says, listen, I'm 7 years older now than John Candy was when we shot Uncle Buck. And he said, I have my own kids now, and there's nothing I wish more in the world than I could have John Candy meet my kids. That everybody in the audience is like, I'm getting emotional right now. It's like, ooh, like saying, like, he goes, I'm now 7 years older than John Candy was when we shot Uncle Buck, and there's nothing I wish more than I could have John meet my kids. And there was just something warm and beautiful about that. And that statement, that sentiment was really, it permeated through the entire documentary. And I'll tell you guys a story that I told Rob last night, but this isn't in the movie, but Martin Short is talking, and he mentions, and he says this thing that I have never known, Rob. I have never known this. Three Amigos. Martin Short's character, Ned, was supposed to be John Candy.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I didn't know that at all.
It was supposed to be John Candy, was supposed to be Ned. It was supposed to be Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and John Candy. And Martin Short he turned it down. I think it's because at that point he was traveling too much and he didn't want to be away from his kids, which is amazing. But he says, John Candy recommended me. Martin Short said. He said, but then Martin Short goes, I was there last year. I think they even offered it to Carrot Top. But he said, John Candy recommended me. And then that's how the Three Amigos ended up being Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and Martin Short, and created what has been now a lifelong entertainment partnership between Martin Short and Steve Martin that is still permeating today. And I just thought that was incredible. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Zapier. You know, one of the biggest game changers of the past year has been AI. But let's be real, just talking about AI doesn't actually make your day any more productive. What does make it more productive is finding tools to put AI to work for you. And that's where Zapier comes in. Zapier is the easiest way to take AI and plug it directly into the apps and processes that you're already using every day. No IT bottlenecks, no complexity, just results. For me, it's been about saving time on repetitive stuff so I can focus on the work that matters and I actually enjoy. And it's not just me. Over 3.4 million companies are already using Zapier to streamline everything from sales and marketing to IT and HR. With their AI orchestration platform, you can connect top AI models like ChatGPT or Claude right into the apps you already use. So whether it's automatically enriching leads, coaching your sales team, or even resolving IT tickets, Zapier makes it simple. Guys, join the 3.4 million companies already automating with Zapier and transform how you work with Zapier and AI. Get started for free by visiting zapier.com/Campea. That's zapier.com/Campea. Rob, I got to tell you, when we saw the trailer for I Like Me, we both loved it and we both had high hopes. But let's face it, I don't know Colin Hanks as a documentary director.
Oh, I do.
I know he has, but I haven't seen his other one, right?
He made a documentary about Tower Records called
that's right. I forgot he did that one. Yes,
Things Must Pass. Dude, I own that. I have the Blu-ray of that documentary. I think I've watched it 10 times. I was at Tower Records. Growing up in Seattle, we had 3 Tower Records. Tower Records was very important to me. And what Colin Hanks did in that documentary, I mean, it talks about larger issues about a passing of an industry and all that, but he did a wonderful job. And when I heard that he solely directed this documentary, right?
He directed it himself.
that when I heard that he was gonna do that, this documentary, I'm like, oh, it's in very good hands.
Yeah.
So
You know what else I didn't know that was really kind of highlighted in the documentary? Him and John Hughes were best friends. I didn't realize that. But then you forget how many movies he's been in, like from like Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Stripes. I mean, it just goes.
Stripes was like the first time I saw him, and that was what, 81?
Yeah, 1941 to as well.
Yeah, he was in 41.
I think that was his first movie was
Yeah.
1941. I mean, he was just, but him and of course Barf in Spaceballs. Mel
Yeah.
Brooks, you saw Mel Brooks was in the trailer telling stories about John Candy and all that kind of stuff. But like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was, and then it was kind of neat too because I missed it before, but Ryan Reynolds starts telling this story in the Q&A afterwards about how, oh, John Candy, I put John Candiisms in every single one of my movies. He goes, if you go back through all of my movies, like even in Deadpool and Wolverine, what's his coffee mug? Oh, and of course, Just Friends, which is one of my favorite Ryan Reynolds movies. But even in Deadpool and Wolverine, on his coffee mug, I like me. And that was a direct reference to his speech in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And it was also like from a personal point of view, Rob, the whole night was a celebration of being Canadian. It really was.
Right.
It was just a great celebration of being Canadian. And yeah, man, I can't recommend it enough. I believe it comes out on Amazon Video on October 10th. And I highly recommend to everybody, watch this movie as soon as you can. Again, it's John Candy, I Like Me. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. I think right now it's got like an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. It should be higher. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is the greatest documentary of all time and this is going to win the Oscar. I'm not saying that, but it's a beautiful, wonderfully done documentary where if you're a film fan, man, this is one for you. So make sure you guys check it out next week when it goes on to streaming. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.